When COVID hit the United States had already, on some level, had been demonizing China. Part of the demonization went with this notion that they stole our jobs, not that the companies ship those jobs overseas so the executives of those companies can make huge amounts of profit. No, we didn't say it that way. We said they stole our jobs. On top of that, with COVID, Donald Trump added this additional trope that they gave us COVID. It was their fault, it was their responsibility. And this is coming from the bully pulpit. This shows you the level of gravity that's in the bully pulpit when you have the president saying something that is rather ludicrous, that nobody backs up, and yet 20, 30 million people go around believing it. And the perspective of Asians, even among Democrats, drops precipitously to areas and to lows that hasn't necessarily been seen, at least not necessarily in my lifetime. Thus, of course, as the number goes down in regards to popularity, the number of hate crimes, I would imagine, goes up on some level of proportion. And that's what we've been seeing. There have been a rash of hate crimes aimed at Asians. And it's not necessarily shocking considering what the last administration was doing in regards to what it was saying. It went on a campaign for months blaming the China, calling it the China virus, the Chinese virus, etc., etc. And those line of attacks remained among his supporters and among the administration. I want to point out when that reporter who was working, I believe she was for the Washington Post, trespassed on this notion of Joe Biden, what happened? Think of all of those people that attacked her viciously. I mean, I forget the exact thing. It was either Kamala Harris or something like that. But no, I know what it was. When, what's her name, was trying to get the OMB management, Near Tandon. And there was a quote, or basically Near Tandon had said something about, I believe it was Susan Collins. But she got pissed off, or the people got pissed off because she showed her something that Near Tandon actually said. And what happens? All of these liberals, these woke liberals, they immediately start screaming at her about being Asian, about being Chinese, go back to your country. She's not even Chinese. Didn't matter. It was on the surface, immediately waiting to come out. When you see the population like that for that long of a time, yes, it expresses itself. It doesn't just stop. It's like the Russiagate stuff. It doesn't just stop. It's not like it seeded into the community and all of a sudden it just vanishes on a whim. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to demonize a group, the group that you demonize will have consequences, downstream consequences. And that's what we've been seeing. This escalates on Tuesday night, precipitously so, as a guy, white guy, gets into a car, goes to multiple Atlanta spas, 3 of them, and shoots and kills 8 people, 6 of which were Asian women. Initially, the first thought is that this 21-year-old, Robert Aaron Long, was motivated by similar sentiment of hatred as some of these other hate crimes. But this one gets a little bit more complicated in regards to what he is saying his motivation was. And the cops are basically going to give what they know up to this point as an early sign of the investigation. And I'm going to give you a little bit more information in regards to what's going on. In that case, look, if you put that stuff into society, it's going to show. And this idea that the president has no power. The president has the bully pulpit. And when he gets up there and he speaks to 300 million people, whatever the coalition he has, you're going to get a significant fraction of those people, even if it's 100,000, 200,000, 300, whatever the number is. And depending upon how persuasive that president is. I mean, Donald Trump had people believing that he won that election in a landslide. And you even had some people on the left pick up that nonsense and run with it. So with this and Trump screaming this, It has effects. But it's unclear whether or not this particular case is indicative of that. I would say whether it's indicative of that or not, the Asian community is massively freaked out. And you can understand why. With all of the assaults, with all of the focus that was put on by the Trump administration, and even by the economic circumstances of, oh, they took our jobs, that stuff. The attacks are at a high. And I did a story months ago on this very specific topic, where the Asian community was concerned about attacks, and you could see the number of attacks that are precipitously spiked. It is skyrocketed, and it is not unrelated to the ceding of the ground on that front. But in this case, I'll give you the latest. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamarl Thomas. This is the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, and subscribe. You can always support this content through PayPal or Patreon. This content is brought to you by you, and I appreciate you the opportunity. I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to do it. So, ATL, 3 massage parlors, 8 human beings that have been ripped from this physical frame, 6 of which were Asian women. The Asian community has been under siege recently with a spike in attacks. These attacks were completely related to the environmental circumstances to which we find ourselves, with economic situations of people who haven't prospered in their jobs, basically saying China took our jobs. You have Trump screaming to the hilt that they were stealing from us. You have all of these type of attacks. And then finally, they gave us COVID. The sentiment of the United States towards China is at an all-time low. And when you poll people and ask them, what do you think about the Chinese? Yes, I know somewhat of an odd question, but the results are rather horrifying in regards to how low they are. And all of it is related to the things that are basically seeded into the population over the last, decade or so. It's unclear, though, if this guy is motivated by that. Look, I would have to say on some level, you have to have some of that in you if you're going to be this hateful and murder people on this way. But I'm going to give you what the cops are saying that they believe his early signs of his motivations are. And I'm going to give you what we know of so far. It's been reported.
Able to interview him with the Atlanta Police Department and FBI. He made indicators that he has some issues, potentially sexual addiction, and may have frequented some of these places in the past. But as the chief indicated, it's still early on. We still have a lot of things to process, and so he should be at an arraignment tomorrow at some time early morning to late morning, and we will keep you up to date. We have a press release that Captain Baker has put together available to our media folks. If you don't have that, I think we have some printed copies that he'll be happy to give to you. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have at the moment.
So are you saying, when you talk to the suspect, he says he has a sexual addiction issue, but I'm sure you asked him, was this racially motivated?
As the chief indicated, it's still early, but the indicators right now are it may not be. It may be targets of opportunity. Again, we believe that he frequented these places in the past, and may have been lashing out, and part of that is in your media packet as well.
But the working theory is a sexual addiction issue rather than a racial profile.
During our interviews, we asked that specific question, and that did not appear to be the motive.
We're going to hold all questions till the end. Please let us get through
Thank you.
the press conference, and then we'll answer any questions.
It's like, dude, just speak English. What are your indicators? We have indicators. What are the indicators? We sat down and we talked to him in an investigation, and he told us XYZ. We did an investigation and we found XYZ. Just say what you found, as opposed to we have indicators. Indicators. What are you talking about? Just speak English. They have to ask you the question multiple times because you're not basically speaking fucking English and giving them the information. All right. So basically, like I said, the shootings at the various nightclubs, massage parlors. Robert Aaron Long, again, after a manhunt, they found him. Authorities said Long took responsibility and they believe he acted alone. Quote, he made indicators that he has some issues, potentially sexual addiction, and may have frequented some of the places. Like you heard it there, they basically think he might have been at those spas. Baker later added in their interview with Long, the suspect indicated that the spas were a quote-unquote temptation for him. It's a temptation for him that he wanted to eliminate, unquote. Baker told reporters, it's still early on, but those were the comments that he made. These massage parlors, they kept tempting me. So, in order for me to get on with my life and to remove that temptation, I needed to go and murder 6 women and 8 people total, because that is the thing that was going to allow me to be free. That makes no fucking sense. It just doesn't. What are you going to do after that? Baker said Wednesday that Long claimed in an interview that his acts of violence were not racially motivated. He said that it remains unclear whether the shootings could be classified as a hate crime. If they were specific to Asians, he didn't kill these other groups. These were Asians. It seems very specific. And I got to be honest, I don't entirely buy that excuse. It makes no fucking sense as an excuse. What does make sense to me is if he might have frequented these places, he might have had some kind of animosity toward these women. Maybe he wanted to be with them. Maybe he was alienated because he couldn't get a woman. He probably needed to be close to somebody, and the only way he can get close to somebody was at a massage parlor by these Asian women. He might have felt some kind of way about that. Who knows? But I would say the people that he killed were Asians. And whether he is trying to avoid some kind of hate crime charge by saying it wasn't that, I'm a sex addict. That's what it is. I needed to move on with my life. Whatever he's saying at that point, is it possible that he's lying just to avoid whatever particular hate crime charge that might up the ante of the charge? I don't know. I would say the fact that these women were Asians, you need to try everything that you could possibly try to get a hate crime charge on this. Asians have been a target of these killings. And at some point, somebody has to say something about it or do something about it that goes beyond this notion of just pretending like it's not there. I mean, for fuck's sake, you have a particular part of your population that's under siege. And I'm saying this as an African American who see how cops behave towards other African Americans. Long was reported on his way to Florida to carry out additional shootings. Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms said he was going to kill more. That's not, I don't buy for a moment that this had anything to do with a sex addiction. It makes no sense. If you frequented, let's say, 2 of these shops, and you say, okay, I'm a sex addict and then I have to kill these women for something, that's one thing. To kill people. How on earth is that indicative of a sex addiction? I don't buy that excuse at all. Don't buy it. Biden was briefed overnight and spoke Wednesday morning with Attorney General Merrick Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray. I'll leave it here. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.